Welcome back, everybody. In our last geometry objective, we're talking about finding surface area and volume. Okay, so for the first time, we're going to look at three-dimensional shapes and basically give you a bunch of different types of 3D shapes. And for each of them, we'll look at how to find the surface area and how to find the volume. Let's rock and roll with that here. So let's start off with surface area. And when I say I want to find the surface area of a 3D shape like a prism or a cylinder, essentially what I'm doing is I'm thinking about unfolding the shape and laying it flat and figuring out how much area makes up the outside of the shape. And typically when we find the surface area, we split that up into the lateral area and then the actual surface area made up of the lateral area plus the bases. Okay, so I'm going to say that the lateral area of a prism or a cone is the product of the perimeter of the base and its height. So we can say LA equals P times H. Now, if I have a prism with my base on the bottom or a cone with my base on the bottom, the lateral area is going to be made up of all the area between those bases. Okay, so in the case of the prism, it would be the four rectangles around the sides. In the case of the cone, it would be this kind of rolled up rectangle between the two circular bases. This formula will find that. And then the full surface area of a prism or a cone is the sum of the lateral area and the area of the two bases. Okay, so take the lateral area that you found using our first formula and then just add the area of the two bases on. All right, so let's go ahead and put those formulas to use. Problem 1, what's the surface area of the prism? Okay, so we have a rectangular prism here. And for formulas, we just said that LA is equal to P times H. Now, when I say P, we're talking about the perimeter of the base. With a rectangular prism, I can pick any one of the sides as the base. I'm just going to use the bottom. So the perimeter would be 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, just adding all four of those sides together. And then times H, the height of the prism, the distance between the bases, that's going to be this 5 right here. And when I make that calculation, that's going to add all four of these sides between my bases together. Okay, if I think about doing this one step at a time, distributing, 5 times 4 would give me the area on the front. Then if I distributed 5 times 3 would give me the area on the right side. Okay, and so on for all those rectangles. Okay, so my lateral area is a 70 when I calculate that. So we have the 4 between the bases. And then for my surface area, we said that's equal to the lateral area plus 2b. Okay, so take the lateral area we just found, the 70, and then add 2 times the area of the base to it. Okay, and 2 because there's two bases, one on bottom, one on top. And then for this b equation, you're going to use any formula or whatever formula the base is. In this case, it's a rectangle, just a 4 by 3 rectangle, so we'll just multiply it by 4 times 3. But if it was a triangle for a base, you'd use the triangle area formula. If it was a circle, like we'll get into in a second with the cylinder, you'd use the circle formula. Okay, we can multiply this all through in one step, and as I run out of room here, we'll say we have 94 centimeters squared for this one here. All right, that's how to find the surface area of a prism. Okay, that's part B. Your note guide also has a part A. Take a minute, pause the video, work through that problem, and then get your answer checked before we move on to the next question. In problem 2, we're going to look at finding the surface area of a cylinder. And we did prisms and cylinders together because essentially they have the same formula. We can think of a cylinder as just a circular prism. So my formulas will be the same. LA equals P times H. And then SA equals LA plus 2B once again. Let's fill those in. Now P, we're talking about perimeter of the base. Okay, so in other words, the perimeter of the circle, also known as the circumference of the circle. Okay, I know the circumference formula is either pi times d or 2 pi r. We've got the radius here, so we'll just say 2 pi times the radius 4. Okay, then once again times the height of the cylinder. That'll be my 6 here. And when I make this multiplication, it's going to give me the lateral area, the area of the rolled up rectangle around this circle here. Okay, and I'm going to leave this in terms of pi. I'll go 2 times 4 times 6. That's going to give me a 48 pi. And leaving things in terms of pi is going to make my next set of calculations easier as well. Okay, so we have lateral area of 48 pi. And then my surface area, once again, is my lateral area plus my 2 bases. Okay, so I have the lateral area, 48 pi, plus 2 for the area of the base. And again, for this b, we're going to use whatever area formula we need to use for the shape we're dealing with. Here it's a circle. Now I want to find the area of the circle. So what I'll do is I'll go pi times radius squared, so pi times 4 squared. And again, I'll leave this calculation in terms of pi. I'll just go 48 plus 2 times 4 squared. That's giving me an 80 pi. And we'll just leave it in pi. We'll say 80 pi inches squared. All right, so that's finding the surface area of a cylinder, just like finding the surface area of a prism, except for using circles for the perimeter and area of our base. Once again, there's a part B. Take a minute, pause this video, work through part B, get your answer checked, and then you can continue with the lesson. Next thing we're going to look at is finding the surface area of pyramids and cones. Okay, formula for that, we're going to say the lateral area of a pyramid or a cone is half the product of the perimeter, P, of the base, and the slant height, L, of the pyramid. Okay, so lateral area equals 1/2 times P times L, standing for slant height. Now the slant height is going to be the height along the side of the pyramid or the cone. Okay, we're going to use that for surface area. Pyramids and cones also have a height running through the middle. That'll be what we use for volume in a few minutes here. Okay, so LA equals 1/2 times P times L. The surface area of a pyramid or cone then is the sum of the lateral area and the area of the base B. So just like with a prism or cylinder, the surface area is the lateral area plus the bases. Now in this case, there's only one base on the pyramid or the cone. That's why it's a single B instead of 2B. All right, so problem 3, let's put those formulas to work. Find the surface area of the pyramid. Once again, we just said LA is equal to 1/2 times P for the perimeter of the base times L for the slant height. And then SA is equal to LA plus B. Okay, so let's see what we have. We have the 1/2. Okay, P for the perimeter of the base. So that's just going to be adding all 4 sides of this square on the bottom together. Okay, so we can just say times 6 times 4 for that perimeter. And then L, the slant height, that's the height running down the side of the pyramid, and we gave you that here. Okay, so in this case, that's a 10. And when I make this calculation here, it's going to take care of all 4 of the triangles around this pyramid in one shot. And actually, if I skipped out on the 4 here and just did 1/2 times 6 times 10, that would be 1/2 times base of the triangle times height of the triangle. Okay, multiplying by 4 gives me all 4 at the same time. Okay, when I make that calculation, I get a 120. So that's my lateral area. And then for the surface area, it is the lateral area plus the area of the base. Okay, lateral area is 120. We just found that. Okay, plus B for area of the base. That's going to be the area of this square on the bottom. With square root dimension 6, area is just 6 squared. And a big thing with all these shapes is don't confuse the perimeter piece, okay, with the base piece. Common mistake. Anyways, when I go 120 plus 6 squared, I end up with a 156. And we can say 156 meters squared for our final answer. All right, that's finding the surface area of a pyramid. There's a part B in the note guide as well. Once again, take a minute, pause the video, and get your answer checked before you move on with the lesson. Problem 4, we're going to look at finding the surface area of a cone. And just like we thought of a cylinder as a circular prism, okay, we'll do pyramids and cones together because we can think of a cone as a circular pyramid. The formulas work the same. We're just talking circles instead of squares. So, formulas, just like we used a minute ago, were lateral area is 1/2 times P times L for slant height. And surface area equals the lateral area plus the area of the base. All right, so filling that formula in, we've got the 1/2. And then for the P, once again, we're talking about the perimeter of a circle, aka the circumference of the circle. And I know my circumference formula is 2 times pi times the radius, so we'll go 4. And then once again times the slant height, we have that here, that's the 8. And once again, I'm going to leave this calculation in terms of pi, so I'm going to go 1/2 times 2 times 4 times 8, skipping out on the pi. That gives me a 32, so we'll say the lateral area is 32 pi. Okay, that lateral area, that's this kind of curved surface up above the base. And then for the surface area, we have lateral area plus B. Lateral area we just said is 32 pi. And then plus B, once again, B stands for the area of the base. In this case, our base is a circle, so we'll say pi r squared for the area of that circle. So pi times 4 squared. And again, I'll plug this in terms of pi. 32 plus 4 squared is going to give me a 48. So we can say 48 pi millimeters squared. All right, there you go. There's surface area of a cone. Once again, take a minute, pause the video, work through part B, and then get your answer checked before you move on. Next up, we're going to take a look at finding volume. And you can think of volume as just the amount of space something occupies. Okay, and the volume formula for both prisms and cylinders is going to be pretty straightforward. It's just going to be the product of the area of the base, B, and the height of the prism. Or cylinder, I suppose. So with that, what we'll do is we'll find the area of the base and then multiply it by the height. Okay, basically stack that area up the height number of times, and that's going to give us our volume. Let's put that formula to work. Okay, finding volumes of prisms and cylinders are pretty straightforward. Okay, we said V is equal to big B for area of the base times H. And once again, with a rectangular prism, it doesn't matter which side we pick as the base. Just because it's shaded, I'm going to pick the right side. So to find that area, we just go 5 times 6. So in other words, 30 for the area of the base on the right. And if I stack that up 12 times, if I multiply that by 12, that's going to give me the 3-dimensional measurement of the volume. Okay, so times 12, we get a 360 millimeters to the third. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now, with the rectangular prism, you don't necessarily have to think of it in terms of finding a base first. You can just multiply these 3 dimensions together in any order, and you'll get that 360. Okay, the B is going to help us when we get into other types of shapes, other types of prisms, or cylinders, like we're going to do in the next question here. In problem 6, we're looking at the volume of a cylinder. We just said volume of a prism or cylinder is the area of the base times the height of the cylinder in this case. So we want the area of the circle on the front of this. Just cross it out, but radius is 9. Area of a circle is pi times radius squared, so we'll say pi times 9 squared. And we'll stack that up the height times. We'll multiply that by the height, this 7 here. And leaving our calculation in terms of pi, we'll go 9 squared times 7. That's going to give me a 567. We can say pi inches, whoops, not squared. We want inches cubed. All right, then last topic we'll cover is the volume of pyramids and cones. Okay, we'll say the volume of a pyramid or a cone is 1/3 the product of the area of the base and the height. Okay, so V equals 1/3 times base times height. And what we're seeing from this formula is that the volume of a pyramid or cone would just be 1/3 of the volume of the corresponding prism or cylinder with the same base area with the same height. All right, so problem 8, let's go through finding the volume of a pyramid. We just said V is equal to 1/3 times base, area of the base, times the height. So for this one, that's going to be the 1/3. Okay, times B for area of the base. So that'll be the area of the square on the bottom. Square with a side length of 755.5. So we'll just say times 755.5 squared. And then times H for the height. Now this time we want the height running down the middle, not the slant height on the side. That's why we gave you this middle height. Okay, so times 485. And when I multiply all that together, I get a 92276,140. We'll just round to the nearest decimal place. And we can say feet to the third. All right, so we got a giant pyramid here, 92 million some cubic feet. And that's how you use that formula. All right, part B, once again, go ahead, pause this video, run through finding the volume of another pyramid, and make sure you check your answer before you move on. And the last problem we're going to look at is finding the volume of a cone. Once again, we said volume of a pyramid or a cone is 1/3 times area of the base, so times big B, times H, the height. And so we have here then is 1/3 times the area of the base, so the area of the circle on the bottom. Okay, let's say that this 13 is pointing to the diameter. Now, if you ever have a question as to whether you're looking at a diameter or a radius, don't be afraid to ask. Okay, radius of this is going to be half of 13, which is 6.5. All right, so area is going to be pi times 6.5 squared. And then once again, we'll go times the height, the 10 here. And like usual, we'll leave that calculation in terms of pi. So I'm going to do 1 divided by 3 times 6.5 squared times 10. And when I do that, I get a 140.8, we'll just say 3 repeating, pi centimeters cubed. All right, so there you go. Finding the volume of a cone. Once again, it's just like a pyramid, just with a circular base instead of a square base. Okay, that's it for the video. Now there is a part B for the 9, so make sure you do work through that, get that answer checked, make sure you're okay with all this stuff before you move on to the Math Excel. And we'll see you folks later.